Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the group chat on the two-way platform. Three of us were just getting ourselves all prettied up for the show, which we're excited to get into. As always, we want our community members to participate. We want you to raise your hand. We'll call on you. We'll hear from you. You can share your thoughts, ask us questions, talk about the news of the day, or whatever happens to be on your mind. When you do that, though, we hope you keep it civil. We hope you manifest the peace, love, understanding mantra of two-way, of the group chat, as you participate in our conversation. I'm sure it will be another spicy one. We've been having fun week after week. I'm here with Nina Turner and Emma Jo Morris. And of course, we will be joined by a fourth guest host. This week, we have Robert Patillo. He's running a little bit late, but he should be with us any minute. He's a Democratic strategist. We are talking about a couple things, but right off the bat, my favorite subject, although there wasn't as much interest in it last week as I expected there to be. We'll see if that changes this week. Pam Bondi being grilled yesterday by lawmakers. I guess you have to say it's bipartisan because Thomas Massie was grilling her as well about Epstein and so many other issues, but also mainly just Epstein. Let's play that montage of her in the firing line, so to speak. That is element one.
Wish that you would turn around to the survivors who are standing right behind you and on a human level.
Chairman,
the chair
now recognizes the chair.
And what you have done.
Time of the gentlelady has expired. The gentlelady, you have no time to yield back.
Theatrics.
We appreciate that. We appreciate the thought.
Don't tell me.
Yeah, I did tell you because we saw what you did in the Senate.
You're a lawyer, not even a lawyer. Let me stop for a minute.
I'm talking. I'm
if they're
talking.
not privileged,
quiet.
Don't yell at me.
So that's about how it went for the whole thing. Gotta say, I'm not a fan of totally performative hearings that accomplish nothing, which I think increasingly is all of them. And she gave as good as she got, whatever. But it is frustrating because I'm somewhat frustrated with Pam Bondi. She said at one point that she had the Epstein client list on her desk. I took that to mean she had a list of names of people for whom Jeffrey Epstein had procured underage girls for sexual abuse. That's what we all meant colloquially by the phrase Epstein client list. I now don't believe that documents exists, and I am suspicious or skeptical that other people were involved, but she certainly did suggest at one point that she had the names of people who, again, not just involved in knew Epstein or some kind of shady financial thing, but were complicit in the sexual crimes. That seems to be, Kash Patel said that's not the case. I don't know think she knew what the client list was in the first place. Anyway, a lot of things that could be asked of her, but they're just screaming at each other. Nina Turner, I see you shaking your head. What do you think?
No, I think there was a list on her desk. I really do. I do. I think, and her performance yesterday was ridiculous. First of all, as a state senator, no one, and Republicans very much in control of my state when I served in the legislature and even still today. But I've never, at least towards me, never with somebody who came to testify before us, talk to us in that manner in our chamber. It just would not happen. And so I am embarrassed for the woman. The way she was talking to those elected officials.
I mean, they weren't being very nice to her.
Well, that ain't the point though, Rob. The point is this. You are in the House of the people and you are supposed to comport yourself with a certain decorum. I've never seen it. And as a matter of fact, I don't believe that a Black person could have gotten away with being as disrespectful. It would have been like the tan suit that President Obama wore that time. Y'all remember that? And it was all the rage. They wanted to revoke his presidency over a tan suit. The woman was very disrespectful. She didn't answer the questions. She had a whole binder. We joked about Romney, not us, but when Romney said he had a binder full of women. And Pam Bondi had a binder full of I got yous on every single elected official that was in that hearing. Well, maybe not every, but certain ones, even to the point that she wanted to go back and forth with the granddaughter, I think, of a Holocaust survivor. I mean, the woman was just embarrassing. It was just embarrassment. But I think there is a cover up going on, Robbie, to be quite frank.
Yeah, I don't know. Emma Jo, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think that this SOT that was just played is the reason why people like, Nina, for example, and me too, and I think everyone who sincerely seeks justice for, victims of rape, sexual abuse, some of the most disgusting things you can imagine, don't get it. Because that, and listen, I'm Canadian. I'm the first person to advocate for politeness. But, these things go, and I've been in these hearings before actually, and they each member is basically taking the stage to do a performance, and they're seeking a viral moment. When I was there, it was because of the laptop from hell reporting, and it was supposed to be about, which this would have actually been directly in the purview of Congress to correct, it was supposed to be about government backdoors to censor free speech, which is what they did with my work, right? And I went in like super prepared to answer questions about, what I thought at the time and still think was the nut of this issue, which is that members of the intelligence community going to get jobs at social media companies. And I think that that's a big mechanism of censorship. Not that this is relevant to this conversation, but just to say that would have been directly within Congress's lane to legislate. And when I went, of course, immediately, which was very disappointing, you see that they're just all about LARPing.
Right. They're not legislators anymore.
Performing. And so, Bondi is acting like wild in this thing, and I agree. And that was a circus, what we just watched. But they're all doing this circus, and the people who suffer are the American people. And in this case, I don't really know, again, what Congress's role is here, but the victims of Epstein, who we all get to watch this stupid show and then get together on this show and talk about it. And that's all you get. That's all it's worth, is content.
I agree.
That's what they go in looking to create is content.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Joe. Some electeds do that, and it's worse now, than it was 20 or even 30 years ago. I think a lot of them do play to the social media for the viral moment, unfortunately. Yeah.
Is that because we got cameras in there? I mean, I'm all for transparency, obviously. I would have, supported people being able to see what government is doing behind closed doors, but I have to wonder if that's not been a downside, that these things become more like, they become sound bites for social media, more like television performances. It would really challenge me to think that the answer would be to give, the people less direct access to what's going on in these hearings. But it seems like it's made them so much less substantive to do it.
Maybe it's an unintended consequence. I'm not so. I don't believe that every elected official plays the cameras. I mean, there were plenty of cameras, people recording hearings, and I didn't see my colleagues doing that. I think it's worse now. Don't get me wrong. I really do. And I see the point, but not that I'm advocating that she or anybody else allows an elected official to quote unquote walk all over them. That's not what I'm advocating for, but she came in there ready. It's the same performance she gave in the Senate. It's deflect, not answering direct questions, going back and forth with them about, you can't, when they were saying they wanted their time back, you can't
reclaiming my time.
I mean, she might not have liked it, but it is certainly not her place. She is not elected to tell the members of the Congress of any of the chambers that they can't get their time back. That is not just her arrogance, and she accomplished nothing. And then not to apologize, to the survivors, as they want to be called, and just the arrogance that she had going in there and fawning all over the president. I mean, that hearing wasn't about fawning all over President Donald J. Trump. I mean, she must have said the man names a million times.
Well, they were out to connect, the Democrats, were out to connect him to Epstein, which has not happened in any of these files. None of them have anything to do with Trump. We even had some reporting this week, I don't know how reliable this is, that he had tipped off law enforcement about Epstein being a creep, said Ghislaine Maxwell was evil. There's just nothing to say that Trump had any knowledge or connection, beyond what we already know, that they knew each other at Mar-a-Lago way back, and then he was unpersoned from Trump's orbit. And Ted Lieu was asking, do you have any knowledge of Trump with ever in the presence of teenagers? And she said, well, no. And he's like, well, I got you, because I'm sure Trump has met a teenager before in his life. And it was so ridiculous to me. It's an unpopular position. I am increasingly of the mind that the entire Epstein issue is purely a partisan witch hunt that MAGA was obsessed with because they thought it was going to ensnare the Clintons, and then Democrats became obsessed with because they thought it was going to ensnare Trump. And I'm not seeing evidence of the very strong claims that were made. I'm not seeing it. But
Robby, but ultimately, this should be about the survivors, period. You know, and that's where I draw the line.
Then they should say what they survived. They should say if they know who the abusers are, like, speak up. I mean, it's time to talk. I don't know what else to do. You're the ones with the direct hand knowledge, and you're obviously comfortable having your identities revealed because they're standing up. It's not like we're trying to keep their identities hidden. They're coming forward to say, we are survivors of Jeffrey Epstein. If you can't talk because you signed some kind of agreement in exchange for money, A, that is itself a little bit indicative. B, well, tell Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna, and they'll say it in the House floor, or just leak it to the media. Like, there's so many ways around, magically getting this file out of the millions of documents, if it even does exist. And I'm getting a little frustrated with that.
I don't know why all the onus is on them. I don't.
Because they're the ones making, if you make really out there claims, and it's on you you can't say.
I mean, these claims have been out there for a long time. This is not the first time that we're hearing about this, about what they call them now, the Epstein class. This is not the first time.
Well, yeah, I mean, well, no, but it's, I don't know. It's
well, Rex is ready to jump in on something.
Yeah, let's get Rex. Step up, my friend. What do you think?
I'm not going to jump on anything. I thought that what Bondi said was that she had the files on her desk. I never heard her really saying that she had a list of names.
No, she said client list. She said that.
Okay, client list.
Say that phrase exactly.
Okay, but I agree with you, Robby. These women, if they've been abused, and I'm sure they have been abused, need to just point the finger and saying, this was the guy, this was the guy, this was the guy. I mean, because even if they were to get justice, I would think if it went into a court of law, they would have to appear and say, this is what happened and he was the man that did it. I don't think you could go in and convict somebody without having witnesses.
Right. Well, we got to be past the statute of limitations on some of these things anyway. So it's really about just public accountability. We want to know, if it's important people who are running our society, who are, leaders in business or government or academia or whatever it is. At this point, I think the reason to know is just so that we don't have to listen to, whoever it is ever again it's not going to be that they're going into a courtroom at this point. It's going to be that now we know, whoever it is not someone to allow in polite society anymore.
That though, it's like, I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not pro-rapist, to clarify my position first.
Thank you for that clarification, Emma Jo.
Just so that no one at Media Matters is accusing me of being pro-rapist. But like,
I have certainly been accused of being pro-rapist, but go ahead.
As one does.
Yeah.
So like any person like walking down the street now can accuse you of being a rapist, and you don't have to go through a trial, and they could just get up to a mic handed to them by Thomas Massie, and all of a sudden that counts as like a rape accusation, and you all of a sudden lose your legitimacy or reputation or ability to be a member of polite society. Is that how we work now? We've just completely flown off the rails. Is that right?
Really, Emma Jo? I mean, really, that is not what is happening here.
I mean, not to be like this.
Well, it's not happening because they haven't given any names.
Not to be, God forbid, pro-rapist, but there are certain members of the group of survivors who do not have amazing credibility.
Yeah.
I
mean, well, it's called being human. Still, though.
No, it's not. If something happened, it either happened or it didn't.
Look, to Rex's point about, and Robby pretty much cleared it up. The difference between in our society, if a crime of that magnitude is committed, it usually does go through the courts. And so that individual is not standing by themselves. It is the people versus. Yeah. And that's the difference, you know, even though notwithstanding the statute of limitation, but it's hard for victims to come forward like that. But even if they did, I mean, Rex, your point about if they were in a courtroom, yes, but it would not be them standing alone necessarily. It's the people technically standing with them as this person is brought to court.
But the biggest problem, though,
I don't think that anything going on right now is productive. And because I'm not pro-rapist, I don't think that it's productive toward justice. Like, but there's nothing valid about a woman accusing somebody of something that happened 20 years ago or whatever. You can't just do that. You can't just ruin people's lives because you say something. You just can't. Even if it did happen, there's a process for that.
If somebody was a child at the time,
that was the Me Too hysteria, and it wasn't fun.
If somebody was a child or under 18, whatever, and no adult stepped up to help them be able to go to the legal process, and the amount of trauma that goes into something of the magnitude that these men and Ghislaine are accused of, and it takes them a while to get it together, to get the courage, to get the help that they need, for the love of God. I mean, I understand what you're saying.
Sure, but has that even...
But here's the issue I have. Because they changed their story in a very the reason everybody says is, why did Epstein get such a sweetheart deal? Why were they so easy on him? That's a big question. But that question actually does have an answer that often gets overlooked, which is that in 2008, not today, not in 2019, but in 2008, when they went after him, the evidence against him at the time was not as compelling as we know now. Because at that time, and you all know that prosecutors want to keep their conviction rate up, so they look at what evidence they have, and they say, what's the best? Is the best move to go to trial and block him up as long as I can? Or is the best move, here's the deal, you plead guilty, this is what you get, I keep my conviction rate high. And in 2008, the evidence against Epstein was not the way it is now, because these victims would not cooperate with law enforcement, because at the time, they did not see themselves as victims, and they would not say that Epstein knew they were underage, except for one of them. That one person said he knew I was underage. She still didn't say she was assaulted, but she was underage. And that's why he went down. Their stories changed later when the Epstein estate was then paying out millions to people who said they were victims. And then their stories changed. And I can't overlook the fact that you said it one way and then you got millions of dollars and said it another way. And also, that's the problem.
Epstein's dead. Epstein's dead. So this is a moot conversation.
What's a moot? It's not a moot conversation if there are other people who did it. That's why I keep harping on the what is the client list? Is there a client list? That's not the moot point. But yes, if it's just Epstein, you're right. He's dead, and Ghislaine Maxwell's in prison, and that Brunel guy, who's the other person who plausibly was engaged in rape he's dead too. Then why are we? Why does every congressional hearing is going to devolve into this for the foreseeable future? It's because there's still this lingering idea that there are other people involved that we want to get to the bottom of, I think.
Well,
I'm always here for, turning every stone to find justice. I just don't see it. I'm not seeing it. And then now we have this thing where we all have to watch the Congress theater.
Yeah.
It's like...
we got Hand. We got Anthony, I believe. There he is. Good to see you, sir. What's on your mind?
Hi, guys and gals. I have a question. It's not necessarily related to the Epstein one. I've been burnt out about that topic, but so if you guys don't remember, guys remember last Friday, the whole Obama post thing that Trump put out and stuff like that?
Yes.
Yeah, I asked Mark Halpern again this last week about how I don't understand that for the past 10 years we've been dealing with stuff like this. And for 10 years, Republicans have been defending it, saying, oh, it's just a joke, this is fake outrage. And I don't know why, and to be fair, there were Republicans like Mike Lawler, Tim Scott, Roger Wicker that spoke out against it. But the fact that either A, many Republicans, A, were silent, or B, said, oh, not in this situation, but in other situations, because the amount of things that Trump has said, whether it was attacking John McCain, whether it was making fun of Rob Reiner's death, all the things that he has said and done, I don't understand why so many people within the Republican Party can't say, okay, this needs to stop. This isn't funny. This isn't good for politics in any way, shape, or form.
They want to stay in good graces.
Have you ever had a substitute teacher, Anthony?
Yes, I have many.
Has someone in your class ever done something naughty to the teacher?
Yeah, a couple times. It depends. I'm in college now, but yeah.
Think back, maybe elementary school. Has the teacher screamed at the child, punished them? And then what happened once that happened? Did the class say, yeah, stop it? Or did
No,
the
not
class go on to
necessarily, but
do it more?
I don't follow. What are you saying, Mitchell? I
I'm
don't
saying
follow.
that as you try to scold Trump for his memes,
Oh, I see.
he's just gonna do it more. And also the people who find it amusing are going to cheer it more the more it gets a rise out of you, which is exactly what the metaphor of the substitute teacher is. It applies perfectly. This is exactly what you're watching.
Yeah, but to Anthony's point, it would just it would make life easier for people who are in the position of generally having to try to defend things on the right or Trump if he could do the bare minimum of just not doing unnecessarily over the top, repellent things.
But also, no other politician I know could get away with the amount of stuff that Trump has said. Like, right. Nobody.
Yeah, because nobody reacts to Trump in the way that you got it. If everyone just ignored this and it wasn't a outrage cycle for 24 to 48 hours every single time he posts, I don't know that it would be the same, or at least you probably wouldn't know about it. He posts probably 100 truths in 48 hours. You don't hear about them. You only hear about the ones that are apparently quote unquote causing outrage.
Well, yeah, I think though that conservative media would jump all over and does jump over, Democrat in many justifiable cases for tweets that are, obviously not offensive in this way, but are, offensive of a kind of similar nature, and that's fine and deserved. And I don't, we made a 48-hour news cycle over Jasmine Crockett saying he was Governor Hot Wheels. That was I thought that was offensive. I thought she shouldn't have done that. She should apologize. But, Trump does it over and over again. And I mean, it just is what it is. I don't know. It's bad and he shouldn't, and you should say it's bad. And obviously the mechanism here was interesting in terms of the offensive Obama video, because it was created by someone else, and he says that someone else shared it to his True Social, but they shared a different video that auto-scrolled to that video and was not clipped, appropriately. So no one was trying to share that exact video, which depicts all of these Democrats as animals in The Lion King or whatever. It's not even like he did it on purpose. It's just, so can you then be not so asleep at the wheel that it's almost worse to accidentally and so carelessly and unintentionally say something so offensive. You know what I mean? Because I don't know.
Blame the intern. We all know good and well, and President knows too.
You don't think it was an intern?
Heck no. That was Donald J. Trump. And the fact that, and Anthony, your point, they took it down. It took forever, but they finally took it down. That's rare, which lets me further know that they knew that was too far. And I'm gonna say everybody, but most people should know the historic nature of comparing Black people to monkeys and or apes.
Deeply offensive. Deeply offensive.
More than that, but in on this PG show, I'm gonna keep it at that. But he knew, and whoever created it knew exactly. They could have made the Obama, I'm not for it at all, but they could have made the Obama's giraffes. But oh no. They decided to make them the apes and the monkeys, and they understood the pseudoscience.
Well, not Trump though. He did not make it.
Say what?
Trump did not make.
No, I said the person who made it understood, and the president also understood. Whoever else was on his team understood the nature of that. They got the rise that they wanted, And
You
it is
think he did it on purpose for a rise? I think he was just like shit posting. Am I allowed to say that on this network? Is this do we get downgraded for that?
What
No,
did you
I think you can say it. I think it's fine.
He's just like being like an impish, like that's what he does on social media.
I know, but that is not to be like very mawkish or something, but it is not exactly what I want from the president of the United States, to be a particularly impish fringe poster. But you know, I'm outvoted, whatever.
Some things just can't be played with, and that's one of them. The historic nature dehumanization of Black people in the United States of America. Lips too big, nose too wide, hips too wide, every feature. And then the pseudoscience behind that compare Black people to a higher form of ape, meaning that white folks that were into enslavement and benefit.
We're all apes to the same degree. We're all.
No, Robby, don't do that. Don't minimize. Please don't.
I'm agreeing with you. I'm not minimizing it.
No, don't do that now. So they knew exactly what they were doing, and it was wrong. And the president should not have been engaged in that whatsoever. And he shouldn't have anybody on his team that would be so insensitive and callous to do something like that. And then you want to tell the Black community, get over it. It was just a joke. Y'all too serious. It was the Lion King. No, there are implications to what.
I don't think anybody was saying just get over it. I mean, people said it was bad.
His secretary did say, basically, not those weren't her exact words, but she basically said, y'all get over it. You're too sensitive. Black people are always told we're too sensitive when we point out.
I think it was appropriately people being sensitive because this was bad. So yeah, not an example.
Oh yeah, thank you, Anthony. That's right. She said it was fake outrage because the woman hadn't picked up a history book. She doesn't understand, nor does she care.
We've got Tom next. Tom is up. Hello, sir. What's on your mind?
1 second.
There we go. Yep, we got you. Oh, we had you. Now we don't have you. Now you're muted. We had you.
Got me now?
There we go. Yes.
Okay. Finally got this squared away. I watched the Pam Bondi thing, and those things are a joke. Okay. And because of the laws, I think they should do it private, to your point, Robby. And I also agree with you, Robby, in the fact that these victims should testify. If there's people in there, throw them in jail, get through it. However, in this United States, the accuser has a chance to view his accuser. And that's not happening. There's McCarthyism going on, where if you happen to be part of a moneymaker, in fact, Sean Spicer had Alan Dershowitz on the other night, and he offered to testify. He was Epstein's lawyer, and he made a fact on that. They won't call him down. He was also falsely accused and won in court because she lied. Now, that doesn't take away from the other poor women that were damaged or affected, but because of that, it puts a taint on things. So I think that we should all get over, okay, unleash it, no redactions, call it out. However, don't publish them socially. Don't try people over the public television to have their day in court. People have lost jobs. People have lost their history. And I go back to, has this happened before? Look at the Catholic Church. Look at Boy Scouts. It's happened. People were identified, and items were taken care of. There was, to Nina's point, there was funds set up to help out with the mental abuse, because this bothers people for the rest of their lives. Okay? So I don't know why this is any different. I don't know, I feel sorry for these poor women that were not true victims, not the ones that were reselling other ladies. Okay, but the true victims, I feel very sorry for, and they should be taken care of. However, there's other ones that have taken their 50,000 or part of the 490 million. They should be thrown in jail too. They're just as guilty in my mind as Epstein. Okay. So I think it all should come out. I'm tired of this trial in Congress all the time publicly. I think it should be privately. I think it should be in court. And that's how my feeling was. I just wanted to kind of speak up and say that.
Yeah,
this is driving me crazy.
I could not agree with you more. That is exactly my view. Alan Dershowitz is a great example. I mean, he is someone who was accused by Virginia Giuffre, who was the best known accuser. She recanted that. She said she's also the accuser who Prince Andrew is no longer Prince Andrew. He's Andrew, whatever they're called, Windsor, Mountbatten.
Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, not
Mountbatten Windsor. I don't care about the royal family at all. It does not interest me. Doesn't matter to me. But it's interesting that British politics is having greater ramifications for all this stuff than we are, because that Mandelson, who was briefly the ambassador to the U.S., who actually from the Labour government, but actually was seemingly having a pretty good relationship with the government here to work out a trade deal. He got recalled and then he got fired for his Epstein associations, which again are embarrassing for him. Maybe there might have been some wrongdoing because it seemed like he was sharing like internal government information perhaps with Epstein, but he's not accused of complicity in any sexual crimes. So
they take it serious though. They doing it differently.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, Virginia Giuffre accused, formerly Prince Andrew, the artist formerly known as Prince, and Alan Dershowitz and some other people, and then walked that back. So she said who did it, and then that was litigated, and she said, nope, I got that wrong. Never mind. So we need to be able to work through these things.
And I love that Tom brought up the precedent of the Catholic Church and the Boy Scouts.
Yeah.
Because that's
right. Because there are examples of
perfect.
Yeah.
And these victims are actual children. And it was litigated after the fact, many years after the fact. These victims came forward, were 40 years old. And you dealt with it. And there was a huge reform that came of that, because actually it wasn't a circus. That's the thing. It's like, that's what I was kind of the point I was making at the top. It's like, when you make this into a big political joke, the victims never get any accountability if there was any to be had, because it's just like, I'm struggling with this. I'm struggling to see where this is going, because
we've got our participant in our discussion today. Robert Patillo is with us. Is that you, sir? Hello.
That is me. Hey, how you doing?
Thank you for joining us. Well, let's go to you then. We appreciate you being with us. You're a Democratic strategist. We were just discussing Epstein-related stuff and the Pam Bondi hearing yesterday. That was really an opportunity for Democrats in particular, also Thomas Massie, Republican, to grill Pam Bondi. Do you think Democrats view this as a real winning issue something for them to keep at? They all got little clips for social media of them yelling at her and her fighting with them. What is the strategy here? What is the idea from the Democrat perspective?
Well, I don't see it as being a quote unquote winning issue, but I do think that it's a moral issue that we all need to get our arms around here. Let's understand that for a decade or more, we were all told that the idea of Epstein Island was just a political conspiracy theory, that it was a hoax, it was just something made up. It was no different than the Loch Ness Monster and Bigfoot. Now, after bipartisan work, after bipartisan legislation was passed, we've had a certain portion of the files turned over, and most of that being redacted. But just from the little bits and pieces we have, we see a decades-long international child sex ring involving many of the richest and most powerful people in the world. What I don't think Democrats should do is do almost like the October or the January 6th hearings, where it turned into let's make this all about Trump situation, and then they lose the forest for the trees. We have to start digging into this and finding out, well, how far does this go? How many people were involved? And I don't think any of us are kind of naive enough to think that now that Jeffrey Epstein is gone, that all these creepy rich pedophiles have just given up on this. So who's running this operation now? I think we need to have real live hearings, and the attorney general and the president need to come forward and say that we're going to work with Congress. It is not the job of the Department of Justice to shield pedophiles, which is what it appears Pam Bondi is doing currently. There's no way that any of us believe that Jeffrey Epstein was trafficking children just to Jeffrey Epstein. We saw the types of blackmail operations he had against Bill Gates and who knows how many other people. We saw that Howard Lutnick clearly lied through his teeth for a decade about his connections with Jeffrey Epstein. And now we find out that he was sailing his yacht down there for dinner on Epstein Island on a regular basis. And he's currently in charge of most of our trade policy.
Dinner and complicit in pedophilia are so far apart.
Then why did he lie about it? That's the question.
Nobody wants to admit that they ever even exchanged emails with this guy. This is my lawyer hat. If he was lying about that, what else is he lying about? And the only way to get to the verum of the issue, to get to the truth, is you have to put people on trial and cross-examine them. So this can't just simply be a political bowling ball. Or a political bouncing ball of what gets us to the midterms. We need to really find out, how deep does this international billionaire child sex trafficking hole go, and how do we make sure that not just that we bring solace to the previous victims, but we stop the current and future victims. And someone mentioned the Catholic Church. Another example would be the Boy Scouts of America, where we found out that for decades they were molesting little boys in the woods and no one talked about it. So if we're really going to do this, it has to be a bipartisan effort. It has to be a nonpartisan effort, quite frankly. And we need to find out who exactly is running this operation now, who was part of it before, and stop using every resource of the federal government to shield these people from prosecution. All right, let's get Frank. We've got Frank with his hand up. Come on down. Nice to see you, sir. What's up?
Okay, a couple of things. First of all, we say that Virginia Giuffre retracted her testimony during trial. Now, did she? Do you think that was because she was pressured by a prospect of endless litigation, or do you think there's some other reason why she did that?
Well, I think she said I made a mistake and it wasn't him.
Yeah, the mistake was accusing Dershowitz. Right. You don't do that, right?
Right. I mean, you're right. It could be it was a truthful accusation, but she couldn't prove it and it was going to be costly a court. That is a possibility.
Well, isn't that the only possibility? I mean, is there a possibility that she actually lied about him? What a mistake.
Yeah, I think that is a possibility. Yes, I do. I think the most likely possibility is that she suffered from mental health problems. She obviously committed suicide. It's very sad.
Health problems don't make you a liar, though.
That's right.
Frank is right. It could be either or, right? I mean, I think we're all admitting it could be one or the other, but Frank definitely raises a very good point, but we're not going to just say.
I don't want to just go say that she lied about this. I mean, I think it's just too muddy for that.
Right. I don't know, but from a journalistic standpoint, if I interviewed a source and my source told me 3 things and then later said, actually, one of those things is not true for whatever reason, well, from a journalist perspective, I can't rely on what this person said anymore.
That's correct, and that's why the pressure could work.
Right.
Right.
All right. So the next thing is that, listen, I don't think a congressional inquiry into this thing. This is the job of the Justice Department, and to figure this stuff out. Now, it's too late to charge people, I suppose, depending upon the statute of limitations and all this kind of thing. But I just don't see that Congress can't do anything for these things. Anything real. It has to be an executive branch, and they don't seem to be so hot on this for one reason or another. So I'm not sure there's a solution to this, other than going through the 30 million pages unredacted, sitting there. And by the way, what about the other 50 million that were buried by the Southern District of New York or wherever the heck it was, that had this thing buried in the first place? I'm not sure where it was that this happened, and why do you think that they didn't go through and redact all the most salient salacious stuff anyway in the first place? And and you maybe can't blame Joe Biden for this because maybe the state decided not to pass it up. And why was it sitting there in the first place? Anyway, but I guess my point is, the Justice Department says that they are unable to do anything about it. And so what do you do about that? I don't see that Congress can do anything.
It's not true that there's nothing that can be done. If there was like a huge compelling situation, I mean, New York just allowed E. Jean Carroll to like go off like last year about something that occurred in 1994 or 5 that was not anywhere near the severity of accusation as what we're talking about Epstein. Of course there are ways.
Yeah,
they just don't because we're not.
We don't need do something has to follow who are the people. I want to start there. I want to be very simple. Who are the people?
There's nothing going on to open this up to. There's nothing going on. And Robert speaks very compellingly. But what are you talking about? What are you talking about? I'm sorry, but it was a very beautiful. You're actually a beautiful speaker, and I felt very drawn to what you were saying. Except that as I was thinking about it, I'm like, wait, what? No, that wasn't it. That was what the claim was. And as we're seeing the millions of emails that are being produced, what's becoming clearer to me, at least, perhaps an idiot, but still, is that this guy was a disgusting freak and had a lot of people who wanted to be in his orbit and seemed to have kind of either participated in some cases, sort of like in Bill Gates's case. It seems that he was a participant, but not that he was, hey, Epstein, I need you to traffic me somebody. It was more like he was hanging out and engaging. Or you had the people like Lutnick who were his neighbor and were kind of around and kind of, looking the other way. That seems to be the range of behaviors that we're actually looking at based on what we've seen of the 3 million pieces of documentation of this time. I don't think that there is a big like spark here that's gonna burn the house down. And if there were, you get the E. Jean Carroll loophole in New York, surely.
Yeah,
that's not a loophole. It's just a question of what statute of limitations apply, given a particular case. But this is the thing. If you're saying that Jeffrey Epstein didn't do anything wrong and Ghislaine Maxwell didn't do anything wrong, you said there's no spark there. So what are they even in jail for?
No, I did not say he did not do anything wrong.
What is Ghislaine Maxwell even sitting in prison for right now? If everybody was just hanging out,
procuring girls for Epstein.
You said that there was a global pedophile ring that is continuing to this day.
Yeah, and you're not alone, sir. That is what everybody says. That's what so many people said. And I said that. I thought that too, because I was just, I feel naive because I was taken in by that too. And now I'm reading through these emails and going, but there's nothing. There's nothing except for him.
The question is,
was his neighbor. They shared a wall in New York.
And look, every single person says, including Lutnick in 2005, when he said, well, Jeffrey Epstein, I saw him, he was a creep, he was disgusting, I was never around him again. And then even after he was convicted in 2008 on child sex charges, all these people were still hanging out with him, sending him emails, asking for visits to his island like Elon Musk was, talking to him about business advice, and no one yet has even articulated what the hell Jeffrey Epstein did for a living and how he knew all the richest people in the world. So
You've exactly nailed it, Robert. You've exactly just laid it out exactly perfectly. Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. And you're right. And I'm saying the same thing as you because we're both seeing the same stuff. And what we are gleaning is the exact same thing based on the evidence that we're both looking at as rational people, which is Epstein was selling access in a way. It wasn't selling as like being paid like some sort of consultant would be, like Hunter Biden, for instance. But his network was a nexus of access to other people in that network. So yes, you had people like, first of all, I think that the sex obsession stuff was Jeffrey Epstein's obsession. And yes, definitely disgusting, probably criminal, but he's dead. And as for everybody around him, what it was is, which is, that's how elite circles are, which is, you got to be networking and present and connecting with the right people all the time. And that's where the money changes hands, is like being in that network and being in those deals. So people were turning their eyes away from something that was clearly disgusting, for the most part, it seems. We're turning their eyes away from something that was clearly disgusting and clearly probably illegal because they wanted to be at those networking events, salons, dinners, hangouts, parties, whatever. That's what was going on. Elon Musk is a perfect example where he's like, hey, like, what's up? Like, what are we up to? Like, where's the party at? He obviously wasn't involved in any of this stuff. It was that there was a desirable network. That was the elite network that they were all trying to get the plug into.
Yeah, I
was that plug. And that was his whole life. And that's what we're looking at. It's that.
But you're not answering the fundamental question of what the hell did Jeffrey Epstein do for a living?
Nothing.
But how do you network to the point you have Bill Gates, Elon Musk, Prince Andrew, and several presidents all hitting you up on a regular basis? I think this idea that he was just like a party planner who threw wild parties in the Virgin Islands and that's what is all going. I don't think that strains credibility.
No, he was like a weirdo. He was like a weirdo money guy for sure. I don't think that what he was doing was above board, and I don't think he had a real job.
So they've done a financial analysis of all Jeffrey Epstein's investment advice. He didn't make any money investing anywhere. He wasn't a money manager. He wasn't some financial guru. I don't think he was a
money manager or an investment guy. I think he was probably a money launderer.
Okay, great. Now, who's he laundering money for, and who's he laundering it to? This is why I'm saying
all of this, except that the criminal's dead.
Okay, great. And now that he's dead, dead men tell the best tales. That's what you learn in law school. And so now we need to find out if the Commerce Secretary is living across the hall from somebody who is a money launderer and taking his sailboat to his island, then what exactly are the ties to the Commerce Secretary that might compromise him to the point that maybe he shouldn't be in charge of all of our money? This is why I'm saying it has to be a bigger investigation than just something about Trump.
I was promised that there was a cabal of pedophiles, so I won't settle for there's some financial impropriety or something. Like, that's not.
And even
this was a dramatic action we took to release investigative files. And like, this has never been done before in governmental history, to just drop out millions of pages of people's private emails that were part of an FBI investigation. We never do this. This is a dramatic one-time thing for which I have a lot of civil liberties concerns. But the reason to do it, the reason we agreed this had to be done in this specific case, was to know if there are powerful elite pedophiles, because that was the accusation and that's what people said. If it's just, again, I won't settle for a this was not, I would not have supported exposing tons of people all over the world to the embarrassment of having demonstrated that they got an email from Jeffrey Epstein sometime in the last 20 years if I knew it was just anything short of a global sex trafficking room, because that's what I was told.
But just Marcus, for the record, we've gone in 7 minutes from the position that there was a global pedophile cabal that is ongoing to this day to financial crime.
Oh no,
Emma Jo, you and I are not usually on board for an entire episode.
Yeah, we're still on the global pedophile cabal. They didn't throw Prince Andrew. They didn't strip him of his titles for financial
Prince Andrew was good.
You don't have the Polish government investigating the ties between Epstein and their government because of money laundering. You don't have Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister of the UK, on the precipice of having to step down because of the ties of his cabinet, his administration to Epstein, because he was money laundering. The only country where we're poo-pooing this and saying this is some kind of just regular millionaire, billionaire creep fest is the United States of America. And that's because we have a president and Department of Justice that are actively working to cover these things up. And if you had a clear, open and transparent process, we wouldn't all have to guess about these things. If any of us had any faith that the Department of Justice was going to carry out a real investigation, I've talked to these survivors when they had a press conference on Capitol Hill. I've talked to these women, and I believe those women. I have no doubt in my mind that everything that they are saying happened to them, because what reason they have for ruining their lives, coming forward and standing up against some of those powerful men in this country and on earth with no resources behind them. So we're going to continue to pretend that nothing has happened, then they will not receive justice, and anyone going through what they went through will not receive justice either.
All right, let's see if we can get to at least one more. We've got Colleen up next, I think. She's been waiting for a little bit. Hello, Colleen. Nice to see you. What is on your mind?
Nice
I like your scarf.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I was just going to ask you guys, do you actually think the average American, and I do hope the victims get justice, and I agree with Robby, I wish they would speak up about who the actual perpetrators were to make this easier, but the average American citizen is worried more about the economy, their jobs, healthcare. And every day as a Democrat, I keep hoping that the Democrats will emerge with policy ideas and a leader. Because I'm really upset. Mark Halpern had a great report on Wes Moore, who I had all my hopes and dreams on, which was very disappointing. And I don't report any other leader. I mean, Gavin Newsom is very phony in my opinion. I don't think he'll go the distance.
I'm sorry, what was the report that Mark had?
That there was a background that Wes Moore had severely misrepresented a lot of accomplishments in his resume.
Oh no!
Yes.
For the love, I mean, but
it was quite. It's disappointing because it was actually quite significant. You'd have to watch it, but anyway, I hope it. Maybe it won't hurt him. Maybe he'll survive it. But he was because I would ask you guys, who do you think is no one's leading the party?
Yeah.
They never speak about healthcare. They never speak about policy ideas. They're, pinning their hopes on, that the electorate will in November still be upset about Minnesota. They're overplaying that hand, in my opinion.
That just got announced today that's coming to an end. Federal troops are pulling out of Minnesota. Yeah, Nina.
Well, that's why this is so actually frustrating. This is the reason why we're obviously having this whole Epstein convo is because the Democrats have contrived it in order to avoid a Colleen.
Oh.
I don't think Democrats contrived a 30-year sex trafficking ring that
why weren't you guys letting yourselves on fire?
I don't. If Democrats were that creative, we would have lost these last few elections to be able to make something up like that. But
you're very creative.
But look, to Colleen's point, I love the name. My sister's name Colleen. Great name. But to your point, I think the problem is breaking through the Daily Mall. That anytime Democrats get kind of into these esoteric policy-based conversations, then Trump shows up and says, I'm going to invade Greenland, or, no more windmills and tear them all down. Yeah, there's something crazy. And the things that happen on a...
We're going to keep windmills to miniature golf courses where they belong.
The truth is, if any other president did what President Trump does before 8 a.m. on a Tuesday, during the entirety of their presidency, we would have combined as a nation and came together and said, this person is too crazy to be president. And so I think Democrats are trying to get in this place of understanding exactly what the battlefield is going forward in a very clearly non-policy based electorate. President Trump did not win the last election based on policy. Nobody cared about what his position was on campaign finance reform. And so Democrats are trying to understand, how do we go from just being going from the party of very nerdy, wonky, MSNBC, dark rimmed glasses, people who are talking over everybody, to actually be able to communicate with the American people in ways that they both understand and care about. And that's going to take a process. But on the bright side, remember the Republican Party just went through this entire process in the 2010s that the Democrats are doing in 2020. After Obama, they were in that Sudetenland where they had no idea who their leadership was. Then we got to the Tea Party from 2010 to 2012. Tea Party migrated into the America Firsters, then into MAGA. By 2016, they retook the White House. And now you have a Republican Party, which is MAGA or bust. Anyone else is a rhino. So the leaders of the party will emerge. It's going to be an organic process. If someone had told you in 2012 that by 2024, you will be transitioning from Mitt Romney to Jeb Bush to this version of the Republican Party, nobody would believe that. This is just part of the evolution of politics in our history.
All right, Nina, we haven't. Let's let Nina weigh in. We haven't let her talk in a while.
I'm just taking it all in. Colleen, I'm with you. I just don't believe.
You haven't thrown any papers today, Nina.
I know. I'm so
Robert today.
Oh,
I'm glad to have Attorney Patillo here. I'm just taking it all in. I know, Robert. I was thinking the same thing. I haven't thrown any papers. Something is wrong. No, I understand what Colleen is saying. I just don't believe that the leadership that lost the popular vote to President Donald J. Trump in this second in 2024, as well as the Electoral College, is the leadership to take the Democratic Party itself to the next level. I think our main concern should not necessarily be party-based, even though I understand people have to run in a party in most of these states, but it should definitely be people-based. And I think that's what you're getting at. We can do all these things at the same time. We can care about what happened to the Epstein survivors, and we can care that healthcare is too high, that people are putting insulin on credit cards, that somewhere in this country, children are going to bed hungry at night, that almost 500,000 people are sleeping on the streets. We should be able to care about all of these things at the same time and have a government that is responsive. But instead, we have a government more intent on kidnapping other people's leaders, giving foreign nations money for war. But meanwhile, right here at home, the suffering of everyday American people, and to make us think that snatching up immigrants is going to solve the problem. Or, by the way, I guess it turns out that shooting Americans in the head, Colleen, is not popular, which the pullout from the Twin Cities is happening primarily because the people of the great state of Minnesota, particularly Minneapolis and St. Paul, rose up and said, we're not just going to sit back here and take this. And then they have a wonderful attorney general by the name of Keith Ellison. So people rose up, though, to make this result that we have right now when it comes to ICE. It is not popular to shoot Americans in the head, to violate their constitutional rights. The first, the fourth, just the second. I never thought I would be talking about the Second Amendment, Attorney Patillo. But that's what's happening. People are just fed up, Colleen. So I'm hoping that we will get leadership that is omnipartisan, that will put the American people first for real and not for play. That's what I'm hoping. And the point about Governor Newsom over there in California, just phony as a $16 bill. I hope to God, listen, I will be campaigning against them. Y'all heard it here on group chat. I wish he would become the nominee. I will be campaigning against that brother.
Nina is the perfect Democrat. She's literally perfect. She's the formidable Democrat. Like, it's crazy. Like, because there's such a this is fascinating to me, especially as somebody who disagrees with both Robert and Nina, listening to them, because it's not like I have like a, partisan axe to grind that is shading my opinion of both arguments from both parties, But Robert thought that Greenland and windmills, which I find actually really interesting, is actually a very interesting point, that those two things are just bombast and just like jokes. Like, no, like those are like the two huge policy positions of the GOP, which is hemispheric defense and hemispheric dominance, and energy. And not counting windmills as something that we are going to rely on for energy, like Germany, for example, who, I don't know if you follow Germany much. I don't know why you would, but if you do, that they're like in the dark and freezing.
Literally.
Yes. So yes, of course, those are real policies. Perhaps you think that the way that he says it is funny. I don't blame you. He is the funniest person maybe in America, but those are super serious policy decisions. And it's funny because Nina said,
those are not serious policy positions. He was never going to. He was
Nina
never going.
But Nina doesn't agree with you because she just said he's going around kidnapping leaders of countries. So she understands hemispheric defense policy and the Don Roe doctrine, and she's criticizing it as barbaric.
No, I'm criticizing it. I am criticizing it as idiotic and short-sighted and not thought through, because we've had a treaty with Greenland since 1951 that we can do whatever the hell we felt like there militarily. We didn't need to antagonize Denmark in order to try to have hemispheric quote-unquote dominance. We didn't need to kidnap the president of Venezuela to interdict the quote-unquote Don Roe doctrine. These are all things that are not thought through, which have nothing to do with national security and national defense, that are often simply at the behest of the fossil fuel lobbyists who tell him, I want the oil in Venezuela, go kidnap the president, and then we send in the Delta Force to go do it. None of these things make sense.
That's not true. That's Democratic Party laziness.
There is Okay, let's go for a debate. Let's look at Venezuelan kidnapping the president. If you kidnap the president and leave the entire rest of the regime in place and make no structural changes to the entirety of the people, except saying you're going to have the oil industry come in and put $100 billion into getting oil out, then that doesn't sound like an actual strategy. That doesn't sound like hemispheric dominance. That sounds like you used the U.S. military to negotiate a trade
agree.
deal to
I
get
kind of
back
wish
oil
we'd gone
fields.
all the way. I kind of wish we'd
course
gone all the way
Robby
with
does.
it.
Of course, Robby does. Robby comes from a conservative, a different era. But I don't know. I think he left the regime in place, and she seems to be singing a different tune than her predecessor.
Yeah, now they get to keep all the same drug trafficking and they get the oil fields and the people are still oppressed. That doesn't sound like hemispheric dominance. That sounds like we're using the military as a mercenary force.
Well, it's about what's best for the U.S., not for, we don't have a necessary burden to liberate everyone on Earth, even though I would have
Then why did we go kidnap their president?
But Robert, now I've got you already not only admitting that that's a valid policy, the Don Rowe doctrine, but you're sitting
that is
here
not a
really
valid policy. That is something he pulled out of a Cracker Jack box. Now we're going to be starving Cuba until everyone either dies or starts a revolution to overthrow their government because Marco Rubio wants to go be president of Cuba. That's not a policy. We're supporting concentration camps in El Salvador. We talked about taking over the Panama Canal for some random ass reason. I mean, he talked about kidnapping the president of Colombia because he criticized him. We sent $40 billion.
We gotta go, my friend.
We want to be opposed to China owning Venezuela, the Panama Canal, and soon
we
the
could
North.
go.
That's fine. Then the Democrats have their positions, but they don't want to take those positions, which is why Colleen is on two-way saying, "What's up?"
Love the enthusiasm. We gotta go, guys. There's another show starting at 5.
All right.
Robert, thank you so much for being with us this week. We appreciate it. Feisty conversation. We love you, our community members. We'll be back here next week. See you then.